Hi guys, this is Laura again here, and today I'm finally gonna start talking about moving to London, UK. This is a series of videos that I'm gonna do. Today's video is gonna be about housing, finding housing or where to live in London. The other videos are gonna be about budget, opening a bank account, things and places to visit in London. And that's about it for now. Maybe reading your comments of the stuff that you want to know. I might do more videos. I would really appreciate if you give me a like and if you subscribe, of course. Also, if you want to message me through Instagram, my social media is open. So it's at Laudiskervallis, like here. If you message me there, I might be able to get to you before I see the comments here. I want to start this video by saying that this is my experience of me moving to London. So a lot of people are gonna agree with it. Some people are not gonna agree with it. But please don't hate on me. Like, this is my experience and I'm just sharing what I went through, and it might be helpful for you guys, but don't take everything as like 100% accurate, as the experience, it just depends on each person, right? So my experience was being on a tight budget. When I went there, I wanted to switch careers and I started an internship. So money was a little bit on the tight side. Just in case that's your situation as well, this video might be super helpful for you. I want to start by saying that London is divided, the city itself, in 6 different zones. Here is the map. You can see that there are 6 different zones. The city being the center and the zone number 1, and then going out in circles up to zone number 6. I did live in zone 2, and the outer that you are, the cheaper it is to buy a house. So a lot of my actual friends that grew up in London, they live super far. So you might ask yourself, is it cheaper to live in the outer zones? The answer is no. If you're gonna work within the city, because transport becomes so expensive that at some point it's as expensive living outside than living closer to the city itself. I would recommend, if you're just going there for a few years, just try to be closer to the downtown area. Zone 2 is like the best. Actually, there are some places that are zone 2/zone 3. Those are close enough and I would recommend those as well. Okay, so let's get into the video. I want to start by saying that finding a house in London is quite difficult. I don't want to discourage you, but I want you guys to be realistic on the difficulty and how much time and how much effort you have to put into finding a nice place where you're gonna feel comfortable. My first recommendation is for you guys to get Airbnb and actually be there and start your housing hunt once you're in London itself, and start doing appointments every day to see a lot of places. Once you're there, it's much easier to get to know the places actually physically, because pictures can be deceiving. There is nothing like you actually seeing the place, right? I will talk about the difficulty of finding people that you get along with, because that is extremely important when you're gonna share an apartment. Now, if you cannot do that, if you cannot afford or you don't have the time to go to London and start your house hunting, and you need to have a place once you get there, I would recommend Spot a Home. I didn't use it for my move to London, but I did use it to my move to Europe. A lot of European people actually just take a weekend off and go to the actual city and find an apartment. But for us that are coming from North America or South America or other continents, it's quite difficult, right? So if you're in that position, I would recommend Spot a Home. I will do a video specifically for my Spot a Home experience, but just a summary, my overall experience was an okay experience. It did give me a place to stay for 6 months, which was what I was looking to do anyways, without having the hassle of getting to the city and starting school and looking for a place to live right away. So I liked it because it allowed me to book from far away, but it does have some flaws, and that's that First, I had to book 3 times in order to be approved for one booking. So I had to like pay, and they gave me back the money and the exchange rate. The pictures were and the description of the apartment was a little bit deceiving. But at the end of the day, I was happy for the location, and the actual landlord was a cool guy. So if you absolutely can't wait until you go to London in order to find an apartment, that's my recommendation. In the information below my video, I'm gonna put an affiliate marketing link that is gonna give you £50 off if you decide to go with them. So I did use Facebook groups and Facebook marketplace, and it was the worst experience, and I would not recommend you to do that, given that they're not reliable people. They could be reliable people, but you don't have an insurance. So at least with SpareRoom, you will have a company backing you up in case that something happens. My experience was terrible. It turned out that my landlord was a fake landlord. Police got involved, and it was really like a hard time for me having to deal with all this, me being alone and being in a new country. So please avoid that. I would recommend you to do an actual agency or SpareRoom if you cannot be within the city. So if you do get an Airbnb and have the time to actually start visiting places to find the perfect house, I do recommend SpareRoom. I do want to tell you that this is like a full-time job. You are gonna spend a few weeks visiting a lot, like dozens of houses. SpareRoom is a website that a person that has an extra room in their house and are looking for a roommate, they will post the information there, and depending if that covers your needs, you arrange an appointment with them, and then you can go and see the place. I would 100% recommend for you guys to pay the premium once you're in London. That way you get access to messaging your potential roommates before anyone else, before it goes to the general marketplace. I think they charge weekly, if I'm not wrong, but yeah, you have to pay it. Otherwise, everybody that is paying premium will take the good places, and usually everything that's left over is not as nice. So I would recommend get premium and then start messaging like crazy and start setting up appointments. Do not miss an appointment. So one thing finding a house in London is that it's extremely competitive. A nice house, a nice room with nice roommates will go super fast, like as fast as like you go there, you talk to them, and then you think about it for 30 minutes, and then you call 30 minutes after and you're like, I'm gonna get it. They're like, oh, somebody already said yes to the room. So once you see something that you actually like and that you can afford, then just go with it, because you can regret not acting on that decision sooner. Another advantage of SpareRoom is actually meeting the people that you're gonna live with. That was an issue for me. I lived in 3 different homes in London, and it was quite difficult. The first one, it was, as I told you, it was the fake landlord and stuff, which was horrible. And actually I lived with a camp girl. Like, I don't even want to remember that, but yeah, it's so much better when you get to see the people that you're actually gonna share your home with, because that implies if you're gonna be comfortable of how clean the house is gonna be, and actually make friends in London. You know, there are some people that are not there to make friends and are very focused in work. So if you go and meet them, the chances of you having a better time in London is gonna go up. Now I'm gonna move forward with the areas to live, or areas that I recommend for you guys to look for. I personally lived in the Camden area and Kentish town in my first 2 homes, and I want to say that the areas were okay, but I didn't absolutely love them. Like, they were a nice area. I do like Camden. The market is really nice, but I don't know, the overall feel of it, and I guess it was because of my experiences with my whole like housing situation were not great. But that's where I lived, and it was okay. It wasn't amazing, but yes, there are okay areas to live in. There are also zone 2 in the Camden area. It was close enough to zone 1 that I couldn't bus it, and as I mentioned before, transportation does have a big cost on your budget. So if you need to bus it, then the closer to zone 1 or to your work it is, the better. So the third home that I had was actually in Brixton slash Clapham North, and I absolutely loved it. It is Brixton is a upcoming neighborhood, and it has a lot of bars and restaurants and a lot of entertainment. So it is, the vibe is really nice, and Clapham North is just young, full professionals. So I really fitted in that crowd. So I would recommend a little bit more Clapham North than Brixton itself, just because of Brixton is upcoming and it can feel a little bit at the beginning. Like, I loved it, don't get me wrong, but it can feel a little sketchy. At least the first time or first times that you were there. I didn't have any issues whatsoever of safety. And when I moved to Brixton, I was looking more into moving into Clapham North. So maybe try Clapham North first, and if you can't find anything, then Brixton can be your backup option. Something that I loved about Brixton was that I think it's the only line of the tube or metro that finishes in zone 2. So usually all the other lines of metro or tube, sorry, I don't know how to say this, let's just call it tube, so I don't get yelled at in the comment area. Most of the tube lines finish in zone 5 or zone 6. For example, for Clapham North, that's a huge issue, that the North line or the Black line is really crowded. And that's one of the reasons why I love Brixton, because in the Victoria line, Brixton was the last station of zone 2. So you always had a seat in the morning to go to work, to go to zone 1, which is really nice. It can be like really comfortable. Once I had to use sometimes I had to use the North line, and it was so crowded and it was so like, oh my God. So that's one of the definite things that I love about Brixton as well. In conclusion, I want to say that those 3 neighborhoods were the neighborhoods that I actually lived in, but in general, the nicest area to live in is actually the northwest of the city. So including Mayfair, Kensington, Notting Hill, but usually they are quite expensive. So in my situation, I couldn't get a place there. Now, I have some friends, obviously, that live in other neighborhoods, and I do like them. I have been there and I did like the vibe, and from what they tell me, they can be good options as well. So you might want to look into the following. Southwark is one. Borough is a little bit expensive, but it is a really nice and very vivid, because it's like right in the city. So it's very, very cool. Bethnal Green, it's close to Shoreditch, which is an upcoming neighborhood as well. It's very cool. A lot of restaurants and a lot of bars and a lot of entertainment as well. It's very, I feel it's similar to Brixton area. Another one is Hammersmith. It is northwest. It's a little bit further than the neighborhoods that I mentioned, but it's really nice as well, and a little bit more expensive, but still affordable for some. And the last one that I would recommend is Stratford. Stratford is actually in zone 2/3, I believe. It does look a little bit further in the map, but I do love that it's a 1 train station from St. Pancras or / King's Cross. So transportation can be quite easy for Stratford, and it's it's newer apartments as well. So that's really nice as well. Okay, so a very important thing about moving to London and finding a house is the budget, right? Again, this is coming from my experience. Sharing a house between 3 and 5 people is usually what it's done in London, unless you're a couple, which I'm gonna touch that at the end of the video. But just to let you know, a £500 budget for housing is not realistic. It's extremely hard to find something that is nice enough to live. Usually the areas are kind of sketchy And also you have to take into account, and please, I don't want hate, but this is just based on my experience, the lower that your budget is, like the more trouble you're gonna have with your roommates. That's the quality of roommates that you're gonna have. So you might want to put that into consideration when you're deciding how much putting as a budget for your housing. The £650/£700 budget for housing is a lot more realistic, but usually there's still not common areas. You might think, have never had an apartment that didn't have any common areas, but that's the thing. So the landlords will use these areas and accommodate them as a separate living space, so another bedroom, and therefore you will only basically have a kitchen plus the room. The £800 to £950 mark, it's a lot more common. At this range, you can find a comfortable, nice home, and you do get common areas, which is fantastic. Like, you don't realize how weird it is to not have common areas until you actually rent a place without them, and more coming from America, that we always have one, right? And finally, to finish this long video, there is so much information, guys. I try to put as much as information as I can in very short time, but I wanted to talk about what about housing if you're in a couple, if you're two people. And I want to say that the chances of succeeding finding a nice house increases dramatically with being in partnership with another person, or having a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Splitting rent in two, it's like a lot easier. You can find something actually nice where you like to live. And I will give the range of £1,400 to £1,700. So it's a lot cheaper than what you get for the amount of money that you're paying, so you don't have to share it. So I just wanted to give two examples. My friend that does live in Bethnal Green, she got a 2-room studio, and she has a living room, a beautiful living room, a patio, kitchen area, in one bathroom, 2 rooms, 1 bathroom, for £1,400 plus bills. And I also had friends got an apartment in Notting Hill, and it was a 1-bedroom apartment. It was a lot smaller than the 2-bedroom, but it was comfortable. It was super cute and nice, and that was £1,700 per month plus bills. It's around £1,900. So guys, I think that's all. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that this information was helpful for you guys. Please feel free to comment if I missed anything, or if you would like to know more about certain topics, and hopefully I will be able to do a video next time. Okay guys, I hope you have a great day, and I have a great time sharing these insights with you, and hopefully they're helpful for you.